This play is a classic because it's a beautiful story about strength, growth, and love.
This play is a classic because both Amelia Rosselli and Olga, her artist main character, are badass women.
This is our history. This is our legacy.
Hello and welcome to This is a Classic, the Expand the Canon Theater podcast. We're your hosts,
Shanon Corenthin, curator of Expand the Canon, Hedgepig Ensemble member, and all-around performer.
and me, Emily Lyon, the Associate Artistic Director of Hedgepig Ensemble Theater and curator of Expand the Canon. And we're here to introduce you to some plays by women that are classics.
Expand the Canon is a program of Hedgepig Ensemble, a Brooklyn-based company that reimagines the classics, creating a legacy of storytelling with gender equity at its core. By investing in the growth of our artists, we nurture an inclusive and collaborative community that creates artistically excellent and relevant work. What play are we here to talk about?
We are here to talk about Amelia Rosselli's Anima, also known as Her Soul.
Legacy.
If you put The Seagull, A Doll's House, and Mrs. Warren's Profession in a blender, you get this thoughtful dramedy about a woman's true value. Our charming protagonist, Olga, is a successful painter, a wit, and it turns out a victim of sexual assault. Revelations of her past subvert her romantic future and ultimately lead her to end up with a kind man who values her soul rather than her body. Anima, or her soul, reminds us of the negative implications of patriarchal norms on both men and women. Step into this quirky, disarming, and award-winning play for an examination of who we're really seeking.
We will put sort of a content warning here. This play does deal with sexual assault, and while it is done with grace and ease and love and kindness, if that is a triggering theme, though again there are no particularly graphic depictions of it, just putting that out there that is what this play covers. And I would argue a play written just before 1900 talking about sexual assault in a really thoughtful, nuanced way is one of the reasons that this play is a classic.
What is this play really about?
It truly is about Olga, as we note, who is an artist. She's a seasoned artist. She's getting acclaim in her field, and she's in love with a man who loves her back. But unfortunately, when he discovers that she is not technically a virgin, she was raped when she was 15 years old, he no longer wants to marry her because she's not pure. And that was one of the huge standards in around the turn of the century of how you chose a wife. So despite the fact that they love each other, he leaves her and ends up marrying the younger sister of his good friend Giorgio, who is inexperienced and was flirting with him at the seaside before they came back to real life, and he sort of dumped her to go back to Olga. But they end up getting married, and Olga, deeply heartbroken by the fact that this man Silvio that she loved and who she said she wanted to give her soul to abandoned her for the, quote, purity of her body. She goes over to her friend Giorgio's and ultimately is like, well, I'm ruined. I'm going to auction off my soul and all that comes with it to the highest bidder. And the men all sitting around a table, are sort of jokingly taking her up on this bet. And Giorgio eventually offers everything I have.
Oh.
It's actually a very sweet moment. At the same time, she has trust issues, as you might after.
Understandably.
Yes. And so when Giorgio says, sends everyone away, she's like, okay, do whatever you want. And he very sweetly tells her that she's safe. He, lets her put herself together a bit. And sends her back home in a cab. And so a year and a half later, Olga and Giorgio are married, and they're taking great care of each other. They're happy together. Olga has actually helped Giorgio spark a literary career. He had been writing,
supporting your partner.
Yeah, but finally she's like, get this together. This is really good. So he's finally about to publish a book. And Silvio and Giorgio's sister, now again also married, come over. And Silvio is heartbroken that Olga is happy, and basically he isn't, because he's never once had his wife's soul.
Yeah. I mean, hey, he let her go. She grew without him.
Yeah, and Olga and Giorgio grew together, which is what's so beautiful.
Right.
So Silvio, as the husband of Giorgio's sister, the two of them are visiting, and his sister Graziana is flirting with another man, and Silvio is heartbroken seeing Olga look happy, and they talk. He's like, well, don't you have anything to say to me? And she's like, no. He's like, you don't hate me? She's like, no, your rejection taught me to value this other man who really saw me and valued me. And so, of course, why would I hate you for that? I should thank you. Silvio, being, let's be real, a self-centered dude, is sort of baffled by that. His wife comes home having flirted with this guy, just taking the horses out,
Yeah, good for you, Graziana.
Yeah. Well, sort of, not really.
I mean, well, it's more like you are married, you took a vow, and maybe not flirt with other men. But Silvio was also not the best man either, so...
No. Yeah. Anyway, Silvio, realizing that he doesn't have Olga's soul or Graziana's soul, takes a dramatic turn. So you'll just have to read to find out all the details.
Yes.
Olga has a beautiful monologue. Silvio has some really great monologues. You are introduced to this, I hate saying strong woman, because what is a strong woman? I think all women are strong.
True.
But this brave woman, this woman who knows who she is, who is bold, who is funny, who is witty, who is everything you want. She goes from being grounded in herself, losing the sense of her own value for a moment based on something tragic that happened to her, and then really gaining the happiness that she deserves and feeling confident in that. And that journey, told just before the turn of the 19th century, with beautiful language that is so contemporary. It is translated by Natalia Costa-Zalesau in collaboration with Joan Borelli. It is a beautiful translation as well. But everything about the language of this play is gorgeous and does such justice to this tale.
100%. I mean, shout out to just translators in general who have to work hard to, bring the magic of the original text to a translated work. But yes, this is definitely a beautiful translation.
And it's a hard topic, but dealt with, again, it's not dealt with lightly.
Yeah.
But it's also not throwing this topic in your face.
No,
I would say, frankly, as a victim of sexual assault, I really identified with the main character and her beautiful monologue, which we'll hear later, and how much humanity is put into a storytelling, how much humanity is put into this storytelling around this incredibly tough topic to broach that we really still don't address enough. This is still something that's going on so pervasively, and it's not a topic we discuss. And so I think we should be putting this play on a lot more stages and having really thoughtful talkbacks, having really thoughtful panels, and doing thoughtful productions to remember that what matters is not necessarily the purity of your body or your body at all, but what's satisfying is having someone's love, having someone's soul.
Yeah, 100%. I definitely agree. the conversation that needs to be had. I think there are a lot of plays out there that we're continually producing over and over, and while they may be entertaining to watch, they don't really broach subjects that make us think about our lives and reflect our reality. And like you said, this play does it beautifully and should be done with talkbacks and should make us think about what we value. And if it is our bodily autonomy, and this is going on right now in some states and they're fighting for their rights, if it's body autonomy or if it's just love of each other. And the answer to that is love.
Always.
Always. I mean, we should have our body autonomy, but, you know, that shouldn't be ruled by other people and shouldn't be defined by other people.
We should have it all.
We should have it all.
Yeah, and what I will say is, like, Amelia Rosselli is an activist of sorts. You know, she's taking on this conversation. And actually, Anima, this play, Her Soul, Anima, whatever you want to call it, it's her first play.
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
She wrote it at 28 or potentially earlier. We know it was performed in 1898, and I don't know officially like when she penned it, but we know that she was at least 28 when it was performed. So that's amazing.
Wow.
But amazingly, in her time, she was actually recognized for her talent. It was performed in Turin, and it won a national prize by the Italian state. So her first play was an award-winning play, and people were like, yes, we acknowledge that you're brilliant. The other thing that I love about how this play came about, in the text of the play, in the second act, they refer to another play called The Rights of the Soul by Giuseppe Giacosa. And his play was actually in conversation with A Doll's House.
Oh.
Yeah. Ibsen's A Doll's House. I guess he had either seen or read, I don't know. But Giacosa is considered a major figure in Italian drama in the late 19th century. And so he had written this play where the heroine doesn't have children, but she does leave her husband in order to have a purely spiritual love with another man.
Okay.
And that kind of concept of spiritual love, platonic love, was really like on brand at the time. Like that was a really hot topic. And so Amelia's like, well, whoa, let's talk about this and engage in what that really means and what that really looks like from a woman's perspective.
Wow. This makes me think of there's kind of a movement going on, or maybe people are shedding light on platonic marriages that are going on, of like people marrying their best friends, and predominantly women marrying their best friends to gain the benefits, but also to just be around someone that you truly care for and love, but there's no expectation of anything else, and just it's pure friendship, which departs a little bit from Anima, Her Soul, but definitely is in conversation with what we do for love and, you know, what giving our body means in a marriage.
I, actually had not heard about this trend, but it's fascinating. And B, actually, Giorgio and Olga have been really good friends since ever.
Right.
And he just happened to fall in love with her at some point. And she, in the very beginning of the play, he's saying like, well, but I do love you. Do you love someone else? And she finally admits like, yeah, I do. Yeah. But she says that she loves him too and cares about him. But at the top of the play, like in a slightly different way than she cares about for Silvio. And she doesn't even want to admit that it's Silvio. The drama. The drama is so good. It's but not overblown, you know, in such a hot topic like this, it could be, and it's just not.
It's done so tactfully. Like you don't feel at any moment that, like you said, that the message is being spoon fed or that, you know, it's too in your face. It's very much just authentic and true emotion, and it's heart-wrenching.
Which is why we need women writing plays about things that affect women.
What a concept. Do we?
Crazy.
Right?
I know. But yeah, so if you're thinking about doing A Doll's House, maybe do this play instead.
And have a very fascinating talk back at the end.
Please.
History.
So, all right. So back to Amelia's life.
Yes.
So this was her first play, performed by the company of actors Teatro d'Arte.
Ooh, that's a famous one.
Yes, I know. So good on her.
She really won all the things with this play.
I know. Well, again, it's a great play.
Yeah.
Ultimately, she wrote 7 other plays: Illusion, The Fixed Idea, The Friend, and those are more psychological plays. She wrote A Burst of Wind and Daddy's Partner, which are comedies that critique society, especially around the generation gap and younger generations fighting for their rights. So really this like continued kind of activist thread.
We love a good social commentary.
We do. And then her last two plays, San Marco and Emiliona, both are really in this world of like patriotic fervor post World War I. Amelia Rosselli had 3 sons. She married Joe Rosselli and had 3 sons, Aldo, Carlo, and Nello.
Ooh, they really like the O sounds.
They do. Italiano.
Italiano. That feels very Shakespearean too, of like Malvolio.
Well, he loved Italy.
Mercutio. He did love Italy. He did.
Although, yeah, well, anyway. Another topic for another podcast.
True.
Sadly, Arlo died in World War I. So her sense of patriotism was really kind of kicked up by that as well. And those were her final plays. Later, as Italy's politics are shifting, her 2 sons, Carlo and Nello, were anti-fascist activists.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm surprised that, she would be so into Italian patriotism.
In this book, Modern Drama by Women, 1880s to 1930s, an international anthology, where we found this play and have read a number of their other excellent plays. So shout out to that book. It says, both of these plays reflect the patriotic fervor of the period of World War I, in which Rosselli lost her oldest son. So that actually doesn't necessarily mean either way. It's just reflecting on patriotic fervor.
Gotcha.
The point is that she had some political plays.
Yes.
And her sons, following in her activist, thoughtful footsteps, were anti-fascist activists. Unfortunately, both of her sons, Carlo and Nello, were assassinated in 1937.
No.
Heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking for her. And she doesn't write any plays after that. She
don't blame her.
Right. She does write a number of other works through her lifetime. She published short stories and books for children and translations from French.
Ooh.
But she completely gave up her literary career after both of her sons were shot.
I mean, that's really hard. It's like you dedicate your life to this activist lifestyle and policies and to making the world a better place, and you end up suffering so much for it. And I think that's true for activists before and activists today. We give so much to a cause.
Burnout is real.
Yeah.
Luckily, though, her sons did have children already, and her grandchildren followed in her footsteps. So Carlo's daughter, born in 1930, is the other Amelia Rosselli. And she ended up being a noted Italian poet. And Nello's son, Aldo, named after his brother, also became a writer. I
mean, the genes were clearly strong in that one.
Yeah, well, it's right, that like back and forth of activism and literary chops.
Yeah.
I think she's an incredible woman, an incredible writer, and this play is a classic.
I mean, clearly why it's on this list, you know? I think you can see her activism and her emotion and her stance through her writing. And again, shout out to the translator, because they were able to make that translate. Ha ha ha. But yeah, you could really tell that she stood for something.
It's just it's so beautifully done.
And that's her first play.
Nuanced. This is her first play.
Like, that's so exciting. She really had a good head on her shoulders.
That she did. She had a great soul.
She had a great soul. And now, here's a monologue from Anima, performed by Madeline Addis. Please note, this monologue does come with trigger warnings as it talks of sexual assault. If you'd like to skip it, please go ahead 4 minutes. Take it away, Madeline.
Don't cry. I beg you not to cry. I should have told you earlier, it's true, but I always hoped that you were different than the rest, and then I couldn't live without you. It was my terrible destiny. I was just an innocent girl. You understand, I was just 15 years old. What could I know? They took me, just like a flower is taken from a meadow, just like that. Do you think I wouldn't tell you the truth at this point? Wait, I want to tell you everything. I was in the country, where they had sent me after my mother's death. Oh, my saintly mother. I was with good folks. They treated me like their own daughter, and to keep me busy, they made me tend a small flock, which I led to pasture every morning. Oh, those long, solitary hours. I thought about my dead mother, about my far-away father, about our house to which I hadn't returned, not even once. What sadness. And he would come sometimes and sit next to me. We didn't talk, overcome by the heat. Oh, I remember that day. All of a sudden, I saw in the boy's eyes a dark flame, which scared me, and without knowing why, I started to run. But he ran after me, reached me. Oh, Silvio, the horror of that act, committed unconsciously. The disgust with myself, the terror of others, and that constant feeling of regret and shame, the immense anguish over the irreparable evil. How many tears of humiliation I shed. But then, later, there was a sudden flash of light in the darkness of my childish mind, and from the bottom of my heart the echo of a voice, confused and terrible, calling out to me, "Why do you humiliate yourself? Why do you humiliate yourself so? Don't you still have something which no one can take away from you unless you want to give it away? Come on, lift up your head. You poor, crying girl, you still have a soul. A soul! A treasure all mine that I possessed without knowing. A sacred virginity over which I had to watch. No, don't cry. It seemed to me that I was able to see it. All white, all pure, innocent, and mine. Only mine. And I swore to myself never to contaminate it. I had a maternal tenderness for it, a maternal pride, and I thought about the man who would receive it one day and who, as the first and only one, would write on it his adored name. Yours. Silvio, yours. And no one else's. Ever. All my thoughts are for you alone. For you, all of them, including the most secret ones. Who cares about the rest? Isn't that right, Silvio? Why don't you answer? Will you deny me that which God promised me when I was a poor, ignorant girl? Silvio! Just one word! So I was right when I cried. I was right.
Thank you so much, Madeline, for this wonderful, wonderful performance. This play is a classic. It speaks on a hard topic using beautiful language and representing a victim in her own strength, if that makes sense, which I think is so important and was so important at that time.
Absolutely. And, rereading this play again today, I was reminded of how much every scene is a really beautiful scene.
Yeah.
You get these really vibrant characters. I think there's just so many good moments, so many good one-liners.
Yes.
So much humanity in this play throughout that's for me what makes it a classic.
Unfortunately, this is a timeless and timely issue, and another reason why it's a classic. We can identify with this message still, and it is relevant in our conversations.
I also think there's some amount of, we have a lot less of a focus on specifically virginity now.
Yes.
That maybe even a layer of that distance helps us see kind of the underpinnings of the conversations we are having, right? Like, it's not about virginity at this moment, but it is still about, like, slut shaming.
Yes.
And it's still about, like, this desire for someone's body, but it really is, like, setting these dynamics of, like, maybe animal need or this lust or power against what is really fulfilling in any of those moments, which is a sharing of souls, a sharing of moments and of humanity. And also just Olga's a badass.
She is a badass. Like, she's a successful painter who, you know, makes decisions after what has happened to her and then ends up on top and ends up helping her husband at the end. Like, you know, when you get to be in that position that you're so successful, you get to be the person who helps your partner. I think that's so beautiful and powerful.
Yeah, share the wealth. I don't always want to bring it back to Shakespeare, but until we change the canon enough that everyone's like, oh yeah, it's sort of like Olga and her soul.
Right.
Like, that's the reference. I do a little bit feel like maybe Olga is who Beatrice would be if Beatrice was into painting.
Oh my God, I love that play. God, love Much Ado. But yes.
So there's my pitch.
Well, also, to your comment about Shakespeare, that's what we're doing this. So everybody, read these plays, do them over and over again so that this can become the reference and Much Ado can be a side reference, you know?
Yes. We had somebody audition for Hedgepig with a monologue out of this play.
That's how you do it. That is so smart. Smart.
It was so smart, and it was a really good monologue. So shout out, you know who you are, and thank you. But it was beautiful. It was a beautiful moment of like, yes, this is why we do this, because this is a great monologue.
Amazing. Well, thank you for joining us for our Anima edition of This is a Classic, the Expand the Canon podcast. Learn more at expandthecanon.com. For info on what's up next, you can follow us on Instagram
at Hedgepig Ensemble Theater,
Facebook
/ Hedgepig Ensemble Theater,
or join our mailing list at hedgepigensemble.org.
You can also support this effort by donating at the link in the comments below, bit.ly/hedgepig memberships.
Again, I'm Shanon Corenthin.
And I'm Emily Lyon.
See you guys soon.
Woo!
Woo!
It's a classic.
It's a classic.